Hi, welcome back to my channel once again. In this video, I'm going to be teaching how to draft the pattern for this outfit. So if you're interested in it, kindly watch till the end. So I'm going to be using a brown paper for the pattern, and then this is my jotter where I have the body measurements on it. So I have my bust, waist, hip, shoulder to bust, shoulder to waist, under bust, waist to hip, shoulder measurement, nipple to nipple, and then the dress length. The first thing I'm going to be doing is to mark 1 inch down from the upper part and then 1 inch in from the center front or center back for the zip extension. So this will serve as a border line, and that line at the upper part automatically becomes the shoulder line. This brown paper is folded into two. I'm going to be cutting both fronts and then back together. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to mark my shoulder to bust measurement and then my shoulder to waist measurement. After marking, I'm going to be making it into a straight line with my ruler. After marking these 2 points, I'm going to be marking my waist to hip measurement. Then I'll be making that into a straight line as well. The next thing I'm going to be doing is to name the parts of the lines I just made. I have my bust, waist, and then hip measurement. And then from the shoulder line, I'm going to be marking the length of my dress. So however long you want your dress to be, mark it and then add your sewing allowance or folding allowance. I added extra 1 inch to it for folding. So I'm going to be drawing a straight line at that part as well. Next thing I'm going to be doing is to divide my bust by 4, waist and then hip also by 4. So on the bust line, whatever measurement you have for your bust, divide it by 4 and then mark it on the bust line. So at the bust line, I'm marking 9, on the waist I'm marking 7.25, and then on the hip I'm marking 10.5. I'll be marking that same 10.5 at the hemline, and then I'll be joining the points together with my ruler. After marking, the next thing I'm going to be doing is to add extra inches to the waist because of the nature of the skirt of the dress. So I'll be adding, you can add from 2 inches to about 5 inches depending on how big you want that part to be. So you decide what you want to add, but then I'm adding 2.5 inches at that point. And then I'll be adding 3 inches or 3.5 to the hemline. Note, you can maintain this and then your style will be okay, or you can add extra inches to it to make it slant or to make it into something like a V shape. It all depends on you. The next thing I'm going to be doing is to mark my nipple to nipple measurement. My nipple to nipple is 7. I divided it by 2, so I'm marking 3.5 from the center front or from the zip extension line in. So I'll be drawing in a straight line to the waist since the hip doesn't need a dot. So next thing I'm going to be doing is to connect the points together. So from the waist, I'm going to connect to the hip and then to the hem. Like I said, you can maintain this style or shaping and then your dress will still come out nicely, or you can add extra inches to the hem. So next thing I'm going to be doing is to put in my dart. So the size of this dart is going to be 1 inch. I'm going to be marking 1/2 inch on both sides of the nipple to nipple line, and then from the bust line I'm going to drop or come down by 1 inch to get my bust point and then connect it to the waist. Next thing I'm going to be doing is to mark my shoulder. My shoulder is 14 divided by 2 is 7, so I just marked 7 and then I dropped it by 1 inch. Next I'm going to be putting in my neck measurements. That is 3 inches for the neck width and then 3 inches for the neck depth. The neck depth. Note, this is not the neckline I'm going to be using, but this is just a guideline. I'm going to be dropping the neck by 1 inch again to get the neckline for the back as well. Next thing I'm going to be doing is to mark that same 7 inches, that is the shoulder measurement, on the bust line, and then I'm going to be joining from that point to the shoulder. Then I'm going to be slanting the shoulder from the neckline to that point. Next I'm going to be dividing that line into 2, and then whatever I get I'm going to be coming in by 1/2 inch. After that I'm going to be drawing in a curve for the armhole with my armhole curve or my French curve. After this I'm going to be tracing this pattern onto the brown paper under to get the back of the dress. But then before I do that I'm going to cut out that lower part out of the pattern, and then like I said, you can add extra inches to the hem if you want to get that V-like shape at the side of the dress, or you can maintain this pattern. So I'm cutting off the excess fabric at this point, and I'm going to be adding extra 2 inches to the hem. Like I said, this is optional. So after that I'm going to be connecting to the hip line. Then I'll go ahead and then cut out the skirt from the bodice so that I get 2 separate patterns. Next I'm going to be adding 1.5 inches seam allowance, that is sewing allowance, to the skirt. So this is how the skirt is going to look. Next I'm going to be working on the main bodice or the upper part of the dress. So I'm going to be dividing the shoulder into 2. So I have 4 inches, I'm marking 2 inches at that point, and then I'll be connecting it to the bust point. The next thing I'll be doing again is to mark 2 inches from the bust line down, and then from that point I'll be marking 1 inch down, and then I'll divide that 1 inch into 2 so that I get my dart at the underarm. So you mark 2 inches down and then 1 inch down, you divide that 1 inch by 2, then you connect it to the bust point. Next thing I'm going to be doing is to mark my under bust measurement. So from the bust point I'm going to be marking 3.5 inches down, that is from my bust to my under bust measurement. So after marking it down I'm going to draw a straight line just like this. That is the under bust line. Next thing I'm going to be doing is to draw in a dart at the under bust. I want that dart to be 1 inch like the waist measurement. So I made sure that that is also 1 inch, and then I connected it to the waist. So I'm redrawing the shape with my French curve at this point. The next thing I'm doing is to add my dart allowance to the side. I took 1 inch out for the dart, so I just replaced that dart or that 1 inch at the side. Next I'm going to be dividing that shoulder line into 2. and then I'll be cutting out the underarm darts, the upper part of the underarm darts, just like this. When you are cutting, make sure you don't cut through the brown paper. You are cutting to the tip or to the end of it, but make sure you don't cut through. So I'll be closing the darts at this point with my masking tape, and then redraw the side line. So because of the nature of the blouse or the top part of the dress, you can see one side is higher than the other. So I had to make two front pieces, that is two unfold front pieces, and then join them together to get one piece in order to get the shape of the blouse. So after drawing in another bodice, I'm going to be joining them together with my masking tape permanently. You can use your tape measure. I'm using a masking tape because it's easy to draw on the masking tape. So since I've added my dart allowance, I'm going ahead to cut out any excess brown paper from the pattern. Next, I'm going to be dropping the shoulder by 5 inches on both sides, and then I'll be dropping from the neckline down. Note the shoulder was dropped 1 inch, that is why I marked 5 inches down, but then the neckline hasn't been dropped from the top part, so I marked 6 inches down so that the lines will be straight. So with the help of my ruler, I'm drawing in my straight line at this point. So next thing I'm going to be doing is to decide where you want that curvy shape on the front to start. So I'm going up by 1 inch at that point. I want it to be on that part of the blouse, and then at the other side too, I just marked 1 inch. Next, I'm going to be drawing in a straight line at that point. The next thing I'm going to be doing is to draw in the curve. So you can use pencil to draw, and then when you get the shape you like, then you can use your marker to do it. So I'm using my marker to draw in the shape at that top part. So this is what I got, and then I'm going to reshape it because I don't think I like the shape at this point. So this is what I have, and then you can draw it at any side you want it to be. So next thing I'm going to be doing is to mark 1.5 inches in from the side of the shoulder. And then on the new chest line, I'm going to be going in by 1.5 inches as well. After that, I'm going to be drawing it into a straight line on both sides. So you can see one side is longer than the other. You see that side is shorter, and this side rather is longer. So at this point, I realized the shape was too low, so I'm using my marker to redraw the shape. Note, if the neckline is too high for you, you can drop it. You can drop it to however you want it to be. This neckline is high, so if it is too high for you, you can drop it down. So at this point, I'm going to cut out. So with the sleeve, you can decide to cut out and then join it later, or you can decide to maintain it. It all depends on you. So however you want to do it, you go ahead and then do it. I went ahead to cut it out, but then later I joined it back because cutting and then joining it again is stressful. So I'd rather cut it together than separate. So the sewing video is going to be in another video I'll be uploading soon, because I'm not done with the sewing. So this is just the pattern. So like I said, I went ahead to join it back together. I mean the sleeves, I went ahead to join it back together because cutting and then joining it again is stressful. So with my masking tape, I went ahead to join it together to the bodice. So this is what I have for the front, the final part for the front. Then I'm coming to grab the back at this point. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to mark in my darts. So the size of the dart is 1 inch, and then I'm connecting it to the bust line. Next, I'm going to be replacing that dart at the side and then connect it to join the bust line. Next thing I'm going to be doing is to divide the shoulder into 2 and then connect it to the bust line. After that, I'm going to be marking the 1.5 inches shoulder measurement. This is the same thing I use for the front, so make sure you use that same thing. Now with the back, I dropped it by 4.5 inches. If it is too high for you, you can go ahead and then drop it as low as you want. But mind you, the neck for the front is wide, so I'll advise you to make it short so that the neck won't be big when you finish sewing. So at this point, I'm done with both front and back pattern. I'll go ahead and then divide that line into 2 as well, and then you can decide to maintain it like this, like I said, or you can decide to cut it out. So this is the end result of the pattern drafting. I'll be uploading the sewing videos soon.